I was in the surf, I fell, I kind of hit the board and the wave the wrong way. And in that split second, I realized something was wrong. I managed to get myself back to shore. And a few days later, I learned that I had broken my back. I crushed a vertebrae. And just like that, everything stopped. Welcome back to Curious with Sonia. I am your host, Sonia Houria Rivas. And today we're going to do the solo episode that follows my conversation with Jason Rice, the founder of Apnea Survival. If you haven't listened to it yet, go back to it. We had a chat about stress management, breath hold, nervous system regulation. And to be honest, some part of the conversation was also a surprise to me. But today I want to talk to you about something that literally changed my life, the thing that unlocked everything for me. And it started by being forced to stop. We're talking about functional versus dysfunctional breathing, what it does to your body, to your mind, your emotion, and why it matters to learn to breathe. Now, I know some of you will say, Sonia, I'm clearly breathing well because I'm still alive. And you know what? I thought exactly the same until I was forced to go deeper. So let me take you back. About 10 years ago, I had moved to Australia and I framed my life to be all about surfing, rock climbing, socializing, just doing a lot of things, keeping myself busy. And if I'm being honest with you, and I will be honest with you, I was escaping. I was running away from myself, from my emotion, from everything that I didn't want to feel. And as long as I kept moving, I didn't have to stop and look at what was actually going on inside. But then the ocean made me stop. That crushed vertebrae, it wasn't just physical pain. It was a mix of everything. Yes, I had to deal with the physical pain. I tried everything that I could in the circumstances that I had. At the time, I was still not a resident, so I didn't have Medicare, so I had limited access to healthcare. And I was also a casual worker, which means that I couldn't stop and take leave to rest and let my back get fixed naturally. So I went on a quest to settle my pain. I started to look for yoga for the first time in my life. I used to think yogis were hippies and I would never become one of them. And the joke's on me. I tried all sorts of modalities. I don't take painkillers, so I avoided that. And then eventually, somehow, I got led to meditation. I found that maybe stillness was the way. Maybe I had to learn to befriend my pain. And in doing that, I was pushed to befriend my emotional pain as well. It became very clear there was not just my back that had broken, but it was also my heart. I mean, the clues were there. My vertebrae that crushed is T7 and it's at the level of the heart space. So it was clear once I started looking into it that I had been carrying emotional weight and baggage for years and I hadn't processed any of it. The physical pain forced me into stillness. I could not rock climb. I could not run. I could not swim. I could not surf. I couldn't do any of the things that I normally would use to keep myself busy. And so it forced me to face what was going on. And that, my friend, is when my journey truly began. I started meditating. I started looking at all the modalities I could find. I found teachers. I found mentors. I went down the rabbit hole. I learned all the modalities that I could put my hand on. And I really started to specialize in Akashic journeys because I found that that gave me the most access to what was going on inside in a settled way. And I started processing things. I met my spirit guides. I started connecting with my ancestors. A lot of the energy work that I now do started to unlock at the time. And so I started processing emotions that had been stuck there for decades. It was intense. At the most intense, I remember being in my bed, crying, really crying, because when you're in the Akashic realms, everything is pure love. It's beautiful. It's encompassing. It's just amazing. You really feel the divine and you feel it in you and around you. You feel embraced. But then when I would come back to my life, where I had the pain, physical pain, emotional pain that were so heightened, I was really shocked by the difference. And I remember thinking, you know what? Maybe I should stay in the Akashics. Maybe I should die. Maybe that's the easiest way to do this. It was terrifying. And at the same time, it was beautiful because I was accessing something deep inside me. And as terrifying as it was, I was finally doing the work. And then a few months in, I was invited to join an ayahuasca ceremony. I had heard of ayahuasca. I had thought about it for decades, but it never really felt right. But when that opportunity happened, I felt ready. I felt it was really calling me now. And so I went. The first night, we sat with the shaman. She gave us our brew. We drank it. I think I went for seconds. Nothing was happening for me. Nothing was happening. I was looking at the others, purging, crying, laughing. And I was there sitting, knowing the medicine was in me. I could feel it, but nothing was happening. And I realized later that it was because I was trying to control it. My questions were so many and my expectations were so high that the grandmother decided to give me nothing, to teach me to let go of control. So after the first night, I woke up and it was a breath practice that was being guided. And turns out that breath practice was actually the most potent thing that happened to me in that ayahuasca retreat. Even after the second sitting, where I finally had visions, the breath work was what did it for me. Now imagine having a vision and a memory at the same time. That's what happened. I had a vision of a baby that was 3 months old, smiling to angels. And it turns out that baby was me. I was literally seeing myself from the outside as a 3 months old. And at the same time, the memory of what I was seeing when I was 3 months old came back to me as a 33-year-old. I remembered what I was seeing, and what I was seeing was 33-year-old me seeing 3 months old me, having the vision of 33-year-old me. And so when I connected the two, when I realized that I had been able to travel through time, to discuss things with myself, to share things with myself, this incredible amount of love, a portal opened up in my heart and it poured in and out. And it was incredible. It was so powerful that I started crying and laughing. My emotions were all over the shop. All I could feel was this massive funnel of love connecting me to myself and to the divine. That was an incredible experience. And it all happened just with the breath. So when I went back home, I started digging into this. I thought, I need to understand how this works. I started looking at all the breath modalities, transcendental breathing, holotropic breathing. I started looking at pranayama, digging down the physiology of the breath and everything that I could put my hands on. I looked at breath through cultures. And then I started developing my own method. I combined cyclic breathing with the spiritual modalities that I was already practicing. I added Akashic work, energy healing, intuitive channeling, and I created what I call shamanic breath. It's a modality that helps you bypass your mind, or at least take a step back so you can see the bigger picture. It resets your nervous system. It helps you connect to altered states of consciousness and brings an openness to whatever needs to come for you, whether that's emotional processing, physical healing, or spiritual connection. And here's what's cool about this. I didn't know it at the time, but through research, and especially now coming to Tunisia, I discovered that what I was doing was actually channeling old ways of the Amazigh tradition, my ancestors. I am half Tunisian, half French, or as Dr. Habib would say, I'm 3/4 Tunisian through my mom. And it turns out that that's my lineage. Somehow, without really knowing it, it was literally ancestral memory coming through me. But I still had to get back to the ocean. Now, after breaking my back, I was terrified. I had never been scared before. I don't remember being scared before. I started looking at the ocean and feeling what it was to be fearful and anxious. I would have palpitations. My hands would get sweaty and I would be almost frozen just looking at the ocean. So I started working with it slowly, gently, and methodically to be able to overcome my fear. I started to use the breath to move through it instead of around it or bypassing it. Eventually, I was able to get back on my board and back to surfing. And when I did, very quickly, I had conversations with a friend and I thought, the modalities that I have learned to ease my pain, my physical and emotional pain, and to go through fear, they could be very helpful. And that's how I started Women Make Waves. When I tell you that the breath changed my life, it's not a joke, it did. And I started my first retreat. I included surf, breathwork, cow ceremony, which I was leading at the time. And I very quickly thought, it would be cool to have a modality that's surf specific in terms of breath. And that's when I stumbled upon Jason Rice and his surf apnea course. So I took his instructor course out of a whim from 1 week to the next. I drove myself to Tweed and I started the course with some incredible people. I felt out of my league. And as I was going through the course, I had this realization that what Jason had done was map out intellectually what I had learned intuitively with the breath and managing fear and stress. He explained nervous system connection, CO2 tolerance, stress response, and how to use breath hold and breath generally to calm your mind and your body under pressure. He gave me the science, the framework, language to explain what I had experienced and what I had learned. And that's when I started truly teaching breath, both the spiritual side of it, but the physiological side of it as well, the scientific side, because spirituality and science are not separate, especially when it comes to the breath. They're two sides of the same coin. And that's also when I started to truly understand the difference between functional and dysfunctional breathing. So let's talk about this because this is where it all comes together. Most people have no idea that they're breathing dysfunctionally. They're alive, and so they're probably doing it right. But here's what I learned, and this is actually Jason's wisdom that I share with you. He said to me, why do you need to learn to breathe? Why do you need to learn to run? You could just walk faster, couldn't you? And that would be running. But actually, no, it's not the same thing. If you want to properly run, it's technical. There's form, there's efficiency. There's a way to do it that supports your body and another way that actually will destroy your knees. It's the same with breathing. There's a way that will support you and there's a way that actually will break you down. We're all born breathing correctly. If you look at babies, unless they're born traumatically, they'll be breathing with their belly rising and falling and through their nose calmly. That's functional breathing. But then life happens. We sit in our chairs all day. We experience stress, trauma that we don't process. We develop postural imbalances. We suck our belly in and we start breathing through our mouth. Before we know it, our breathing patterns become completely off. We become dysfunctional breathers. So let me describe dysfunctional breathing for you. And I want you to check in with yourself as I describe it, just to see where you're at. No judgment. It's just about noticing. Don't change anything. Dysfunctional breathing typically looks like this. First, you're probably using your chest more than you should. You're probably breathing with the upper part of your chest more than your belly. And that also means that you're probably not using your breathing muscles correctly, your diaphragm and ribcage muscles. So just to check where you're at, put a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly. Notice, do not change your breath. Just pay attention to the details without trying to influence anything. What does it look like when you breathe in? Is it your chest that rises first or your belly that rises first? Does your belly rise at all? If it's your chest that rises first, you are a dysfunctional breather. No need to judge yourself. This can all be improved. Don't worry. It's just about knowing where you're at. But here's what happens when you chest breathing. You activate the sympathetic nervous system branch. It becomes more dominant, which means you are now in stress response. It tells your body you're in danger and you have to either run or fight. Your body doesn't know the difference between being chased by a tiger or sitting at your desk, fighting against a deadline, having a meeting to prepare for, or being faced with a wave. It's the same for it. It just knows this. Shallow, rapid chest breathing means danger. It also floods you with cortisol and adrenaline, prepares you for the fight or the flight. Your heart rate increases, your digestive system shuts down, and your muscles start becoming tense. You're in chronic, low-level stress, and you might not even know it.
Quick pause. I want to share with you two things that are so supportive of me every single day. First, with their medicinal mushrooms and herbal blends, Superfeast has been a game changer for me. It's helped me with energy, with immunity, with focus, and with stress support. All the things that I need for what I do. Second, Australian ceremonial cacao, my favorite cacao brand, to support you with your mood, emotional regulation, and clarity. And if you're a woman, it's great for your well-being. If you want to try them, use the code WMWHealth, all in capital letters. I'll put the links in the show notes. Now let's go back to the episode.
The other aspect of dysfunctional breathing is mouth breathing. If you're breathing through your mouth at rest, not during intense exercise, but just sitting, walking, sleeping, then, my friend, you're a dysfunctional breather and you're missing out on everything your nose is designed to do. Your nose filters air. It warms it. It humidifies it. It produces nitric oxide, which you need to efficiently oxygenate your cells. And when you mouth breathe, you lose all of that. Plus, you're more likely to overbreathe, which makes it very difficult for your tissues to be oxygenated properly. When I say overbreathing, this is quite subtle. It's not quite hyperventilating, but you're breathing slightly more than your body actually needs, and that depletes your CO2 levels. You offload too much of it. And it turns out CO2 is not just a waste. It's actually super important to oxygenate your cells and your tissues, to help oxygen travel through your body optimally. When your CO2 levels are too low, which is what happens when you overbreathe, then your hemoglobin is not able to offload the oxygen into your tissue. It holds on tight to it. So it looks like you're breathing more, but actually you're getting less oxygen. You need the right amount of CO2. So what does dysfunctional breathing do to you? Let's talk about dysfunctional breathing and the effects of it, because you need to know that probably some of the symptoms that you have are actually just related to the way you breathe. First is the physical side. you're not oxygenating your cells properly, which contributes to chronic disease, inflammation, poor recovery, digestive issues, poor sleep. Then there's the mental side of it. When you're a dysfunctional breather, you're chronically stressed. You activate the stress response of your body through your breath, which means you're more likely to be anxious, to have brain fog, to be tired. You probably can't think clearly. Your prefrontal cortex, which is where you make your rational decisions, is actually not working optimally. So you're not even thinking straight, literally. Then there's the emotional side of things. You might be reactive, easily irritated. You might be feeling overwhelmed quite often because your body actually thinks it's under threat. All of that from the breath. I see this all the time. Someone comes to me because they're stressed, they're anxious, they can't sleep properly, they have digestive issues. And within a second of watching them, I can tell they're dysfunctional breathers. They use their chest more than their belly, they overbreathe, they use their mouth, all the hallmark of dysfunctional breathing. Their nervous system is stuck in sympathetic activation, stress response, 24/7. Imagine that just by the way you breathe, you teach your body to think you're always in danger. That's what you do when you use your mouth, when you overbreathe, and when you use your chest, when in fact you should be using your belly. But here's the beautiful thing about it. You can change it. Now, don't get me wrong. Functional breathing is simple, but it's not necessarily easy because you have to undo decades of dysfunctional breathing. But I promise to you, it is simple. And with awareness and practice, you can get back to a more supportive way of breathing. Now, let me tell you about functional breathing. 1, nasal breathing. You should be breathing through your nose at all times, except, of course, if you're doing high intensity exercise. Your nose is designed for it. Use it. Second, deep breathing. Now, deep breath is very different from big breath. Most people actually draw a big breath. They do a very impressive chest inhale instead of doing a full lung inhale. When you do a proper deep breath, you're drawing the air using your diaphragm and your rib cage. And what it looks like is that your belly is rising. You might also see that it is expanding sideways, and you can breathe into your back as well. That's a bit more advanced. But when you inhale, your belly should expand. Your diaphragm actually is dropping down, pulling on the lungs so that they can be filled completely. That is a deep breath. All the air goes in from the bottom up. When you exhale, your belly falls down. That's when your diaphragm rises back up, relaxing. This is not just being more efficient in filling your lungs. Breathing that way actually activates your parasympathetic branch, which is the calm, rest, and digest side of your nervous system. And that simply means that when you're breathing properly, you're actually allowing your body to do what it's designed to do, which is self-heal. 3, light breathing. Your breath should be gentle. You should barely hear it, if at all, and definitely not when you're resting. Now, I know some of you will say my nose is always blocked. The more you use your nose, the easier it gets at it. So just push through. 4, slow breathing. The optimal breathing rate for us human beings is 5.5 seconds in and 5.5 seconds out. Now, it's really hard to count 5.5 seconds, so it's totally fine if you do 5 or 6 seconds in and out. That's essentially 5 to 6 breath cycles per minute. Most of you will be breathing for a second or 2 seconds in and out. That is less than half the optimal breathing rate. When you start breathing deeply, lightly, slowly, gently, your nervous system regulates. That's why it's so important to use your breath properly. Now, here's what I learned from my spiritual practice, including shamanic breath. When you intellectualize the breath too much, it can become tense. You might find that your rib cage is actually holding tight. You might not be able to expand gently. You're thinking to yourself, counting, trying to get it right, and that puts pressure, which actually is counterproductive to what you're trying to do. But when you find that safe space within yourself, that spot in you that is connected to something larger, whether it's the breath itself, your ancestors, the earth, whatever it is for you that feels like you're connected to something greater, something gentle and purely loving. When you connect to that safe space, functional breathing happens automatically. Your body knows how to do this. It has just been trained out of the pattern. So part of my work is to help people remember, not learn something new, but really remember what they already know. Now, let me give you 2 examples to give you an idea of what it looks like in day-to-day life. One of my clients came to me to do a surf apnea course. He's a veteran and was riddled with anxiety, but learning functional breathing actually helped him calm his mind, settle, reset. And that was a gift that was incredible for him because he was always heightened. That's what the breath can do for you. The other example is Fran, the lady, chick with a bowl. that ran from Queensland to New South Wales dribbling a soccer ball, over 1,000 kilometers. We worked a little bit together, and I helped her with the breath as she was doing her physical training. And just learning a few tips helped her reduce her time by 15 minutes on her 20K. That's massive. And that's what can happen when you actually use your breath properly. You start optimizing your body. What a gift. The thing is, even just with a couple of tips, you can improve your well-being and your health drastically. The other day, I bumped into a lady who had come to a workshop. She had been suffering with chronic asthma. And when she bumped into me, she said, "You know what? Thank you for the course and for giving me those tips. Since I've done the course with you, I have not had to use my puffer for 2 years." Now imagine the impact that has on you. She says, "I still carry it just in case, but I've never had to use it in 2 years, thanks to the little tips that you gave me." And that's what the breath can do. If you really know how you function, if you really know how your body functions, let alone the mind and the emotions, you know how to use your breath. You know how to use it in a way that supports you. It actually will heal you. And here's what's interesting to me. Learning functional breathing helps you settle your nervous system, which when it comes to the spiritual side of things, already gives you a great baseline to start working. When you are less in stress response, you are less scared, and you are more susceptible to be open to the experiences that you need in your spiritual practices. So people who are functional breathing tend to also connect more deeply with their altered state of consciousness in shamanic breath. How incredible is that? I mean, the breath is a fascinating thing. It connects everything. It connects your mind, your emotions, your body, your spirit. It allows you to bypass your mind to connect to all these other realms to get to know yourself better. That's what happened to me in the ayahuasca retreat. I realized that the breath helped me travel through times literally to meet my old self and my future self, to connect pure love. Since then, I have not been able to go back. I used to not be able to understand what self-love was. And that day, things changed completely. And that's what I want for you. I really want that for you, because it's a beautiful state to be able to know that no matter what, someone loves you. So, can you let your diaphragm do its job? Can you use your nose? Can you slow down? Can you breathe lightly? Can you breathe deeply? Can you soften enough to let your nervous system reset? That's the foundation. And everything builds on that. So let me bring this home for you. Why does functional breathing matter? Physically, you're preventing chronic disease. You're improving sleep, digestion, cardiac health. You're improving your recovery, your immunity. You're oxygenating your cells efficiently. You're giving what your body needs to heal. Mentally, you're calming your nervous system. You're able to think more clearly, make better decisions. You're not constantly in fight or flight. You're more settled. Emotionally, you're able to self-regulate. You're less heightened. You're less irritable, reactive. You're less fearful. And you have space between the stimulus and the reaction, the response. Athletically, you perform better. It's like you have an extra gear in your hand. And spiritually, it creates a foundation for deeper work. But all of this starts with just this simple thing, remembering or relearning to breathe properly. So I want you to do something with me right now. You're going to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Don't change the way you breathe. Just observe. You can look, you can close your eyes and feel whatever feels right to you. Just notice how you breathe. Which hand rises first? Is it your belly or your chest? Are you breathing through your nose or through your mouth? Is your breath loud or quiet? Can you hear it? Is it fast or slow? Just notice. So let's shift this together. Close your mouth. Now I know if you're a mouth breather, you might feel like this is impossible, but humor me, try it. Keep your hands on your chest and your belly. As you breathe in, allow your belly to rise. As you breathe out, let it fall. Again through your nose. Belly rises. Belly falls. Slow it down. Belly rises. 2, 3, 4, 5. Belly drops. 2, 3, 4, 5. Belly rises. Belly drops. Keep it light. Keep it gentle. Notice what happens. Your shoulders might drop. Your jaw might soften. You might feel a sense of calm washing over you. That's your nervous system settling down, stepping away from threat and from urgency. This is what I mean when I say the breath changes everything. It changed everything for me, and it can change everything for you too. It all started for me with being broken, being forced into stillness, being forced to face myself. And it led me to one of the most powerful tools that the human being has. It's not complicated techniques, it's accessible to everyone. It's just the breath. All you need to do is learn how to use it properly. And that requires to be conscious with it, to build awareness, to build practice. But you've got this. The breath is always with you. You draw about 20,000 breaths a day. Most of them are unconscious. Most of them are dysfunctional. But what if you change that? What if you train your body to breathe the way it was designed to do, in a way that calms your nervous system? Everything would change. So here's my invitation to you after this little episode. Notice your breath. Just notice it throughout the day. Put an alarm in your phone. Just put an alarm, say, check your breath. And throughout the day, whenever you notice that you're not functionally breathing, reset yourself and start using your nose. Start really drawing your breath with your belly. Slow, deep, gentle breath. Just do that a few times a day. That'll help massively. Do that before you go to bed. It'll help you calm down. Do that before you go to a meeting. It'll help you calm down. The more you practice, the easier it gets, and the more it becomes a habit. It becomes the new trained way of breathing for you. My journey to the breath started with a broken back, with being forced into stillness and going through crazy stories of spiritual work and journeys. It led me here. It led me to practicing shamanic breath, this modality that came out of literally my ancestors without me knowing. It led me to surf apnea, to helping people connect with their confidence more. It helped me understand the nervous system better, the body, the connection between body, mind, emotions. It helped me understand the spiritual side of things. It helped me understand what breath is when it is intending to heal and support you. Now, your journey might be different than mine, but I promise if you start today, if you start really paying attention to your breath, it'll change your life one way or another. Thank you for being here with me today and for listening. And thank you to Jason Rice for the incredible conversation that we had. Again, if you haven't listened to the episode, please go back and listen to it. It is the last episode. You will not regret it. And thank you for taking the time to breathe with me today. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated, it would mean the world if you could like, follow, share, rate the podcast. It helps us get discovered and share the love. Resources will be in the show notes, including links, offerings, discounts, and anything you might need to go deeper. And if you want more tools, reflections, or behind the scene moments, feel free to follow us on social media or to have a look at womenmakewaves.com.au. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, stay true to yourself.